Hi guys, welcome back to another trade recap. So this is gonna be kind of a weird one. I started a new session. I'm trying to work on my basically just reading the market better. As you can see, I'm not gonna lie, March 2018 is really tough. It's tough, 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 tough. I have a lot of losses here. Not gonna lie, I had no business being in some of these trades. At least two of these, and the last week that I did, I have no business being in because they were inside days. Some of these were, I did have the bias correct, but my stop placement was just not in the right place. And then some of these I just got straight out wrong, but lots of different reasons why there's so many losses, and that's basically just what I'm trying to correct in this session here. I'm going to try and take 2018, do 2018 all the way up until 2020, and hopefully I can see a progression as I'm going through. So you might be seeing some trade recaps through this session. So rather than really looking at the metrics, I'm going to be looking for like improvement. And then obviously some months might be better than other because I am trading the same way. It's just like I keep fumbling it when it comes to like different things. So like maybe my bias might be wrong, my entry might be wrong. Maybe I'm taking the trade on the wrong asset, which really does make a difference. There's just so many things that could like screw you up, and I'm just trying to better hone in and like work on, especially work on my timing. So that's another thing that I've been having struggle with, like working on the timing of my trades, because sometimes I get into the trade too late, which ultimately leads to the loss. And there's just so many things that I'm just not doing right. Because I my strategy works. It works. It's just that I'm not utilizing the tools to the best of my ability and to their full potential essentially. So I just got to win here. And I'm not gonna lie, this trade did make me a little bit nervous, and I'm just gonna go through why this trade worked out so well, and just having the conviction to put it on, because in all honesty, as you can see here, we got the first CISD, the first change in state of delivery. This was I'm gonna go through the whole thing, but I just wanna first talk about that. This was a C2 candle here. So this is a 15-minute model. I was kind of bearish, but just because we've been down for a lot of days. Again, I'm gonna go from the top down, but I just want to quickly talk about this. So the reason why I dropped down to the 3-minute to look for my entry is because we had an SMT at the highs. We were in this bearish fair value gap here, and we had a I believe it was a C2 closure. Yeah, C2 closure, because we took the high of this candle and we were coming back into the range. So I don't want to wait for the closure of this C2 candle, otherwise I'll end up missing the move. So as soon as I saw that we had this SMT of the high and we closed, we went above it on NASDAQ, not so much ES, they're kind of like relatively equal, but I was like, okay, C2 closure, we have SMT at the highs, and then using the driver, which is at 9:30, I just went down immediately to the 3-minute, waited for the first CISD, make sure both assets are correlated, which is NASDAQ and ES. They both did. I waited for that closure through, which I got here on this candle, the 9:33 candle. Placed my entry. I placed my entry at this candle, although I guess I actually could have changed, put it at the CISD, would have had a tighter stop. The only issue is that sometimes it might not give you that entry, so I just set it at the closure of this candle. Then it would have tapped me back in. Barely any drawdown, which is really good, and then it went to the draw, which was this first initiative here, and then this second one. I initially, as soon as it took this this trade, I placed my stop at break even. Not immediately, but like once it was like it was like kind of consolidating here around my entry. I basically moved my stop to break even, because I was like, if you're gonna be consolidating around here, like I don't know if I want to risk that. So I moved it to break even. But in all honesty though, that was kind of, I think it's good practice, but kind of risky, because I could have gotten taken out of a trade that would have otherwise really worked out. And as you can see, I took it on ES. NASDAQ was a little bit more risky because it had a really deep drawdown. Realistically speaking, I think, because this would have been that, right? My stop I would have probably put it at the body the same way. So really close, might have been stopped out. Or unless I put it at the top of this green candle, really close, would have been almost stopped out to the tick. So that's why just taking on the better asset is so important, because, you know, it could be the difference between a lot of drawdown and being taken out of trade, and the difference between a trade that actually works out in your favor. I did take some of this position off once we hit this. Once we hit our initiative, because there's a possibility that it could come back and take us out. And it, as you can see, it had a really deep retracement back to almost my break-even point. Luckily for us, it never hit it, and then it just came down and took me out at full TP. Well, not full TP, partial TP, because I took some off, and obviously taking partials does cut into the profit. So this ended up being a $700 profit. Yeah, I mean, it's a shame that I couldn't get the full $1,000 profit, and ideally that's what we'd want. But like when you see deep retracements like this, I'd rather take something off than not get anything at all. So that's why I did that. As you can see, the reaction once we hit this level. But yeah, I think, yeah, we didn't get as, like, if we took it on NASDAQ, we would have had a deep retracement initially here, but like afterwards, not really deep retracements. I mean, it still did react off of this level, as you can see, and then came up, but not really deep. Wouldn't have gotten anywhere near our break-even point or our stop compared to ES, and then it would have went to our draw. So that's nice, I guess, but let's just go from top down now. Defeats the purpose, right? If I start down there. So as you can see, looking at the daily chart, I was not really quite sure what the play was here because we gapped down. So I wasn't sure, do we want to go fill back that gap, or do we want to continue with the bearish energy? So realistically speaking, I did look on the weekly chart as well. There was really nothing that really stood out to me on the weekly. And I was kind of crossed between, do we want to be bullish or bearish? I was a little bit more bearish, and the reason why I'm a little bit more bearish is because we've been just going lower. We gap down. There's no reason to want to be bullish necessarily, right? I don't want to pick tops and bottoms. If you ever watch ICT, you'll hear him say the same thing. You don't want to pick tops and bottoms. You want to kind of go with the order flow here. So even though there is a chance that we could go back up, I definitely wanted to respect the order flow of this bullish momentum until otherwise proven wrong. Did I just say bullish momentum? I mean bearish momentum. I wanted to respect this bearish momentum until otherwise proven wrong. So I was definitely leaning more towards bearish. I didn't really want to fade this move here and try to pick a bottom because realistically speaking, I don't know where the bottom is. There's no area of interest on over here that I would be like, yeah, we're definitely going to go up from here. So I was just like, I'm just going to be bearish, right? And obviously, going to the 4-hour chart, I still wasn't 100% sure. We didn't really have a relevant high, nor did we have a relevant low coming onto the 4-hour chart, as you can see marked out by these two lines here. So I was just like, yeah, I don't even know. One thing I need an SMT. And there was no SMT at the lows. There was no SMT at the highs. So initially, looking on the 4-hour chart, I really had nothing either. So then I went down to the 1 hour and I was like, okay, cool. We actually have a fair value gap. So I marked that out and I was like, okay, I don't know if we're going to invalidate this and go up here or if we're going to go down. Luckily for us, an SMT was put in. And as soon as that SMT was put in, I was like, oh, okay, cool. So then I was like, okay, well, if we're going down, I want to see a 30-minute model or a 50-minute model. And you're probably wondering, what is a 30-minute model? What is a 50-minute model? What are you talking about? So a 30-minute model and a 50-minute model is basically just like a C2. So if you need to know, you need to understand candle closures, right? So you need to under your C2 candles, your C3 candles, and things of that sort. So I was looking through for a 30-minute C2 or C3 candle, and it's very hard to see, but this candle went above this high and then came back within the range. That is a C2 candle, right? That is a C2 candle. Now for ES, I thought there might have been a two-stage SMT, but these are relatively equal, so I can't really say that it's a two-stage SMT, so I kind of disregarded that. But I was like, okay, this is clearly a C2 candle. We're coming back into the range. So at this point, I'm looking at the 15-minute again, just trying to see, do we have a 50-minute C2? We do on NASDAQ, not so much ES. They're relatively equal. But at that point, I'm like, okay, cool. So once I have my SMT and my C2 closure, I drop down to the 3-minute and I just look for your first CISD, because the reason why I can take the first CISD is because if up here is the high of the day, the highest we will reach, we want to trade away from that. So realistically speaking, I can take the first CISD down, assuming that we have a fair SMT pointing us to the downside, right? And that is exactly what we had here. And I already explained basically my thought process with this. I just took the first CISD and then I traded lower. In retrospect, this I was really nervous taking this first CISD though, because it was still relatively early. Actually, I guess it wasn't that early technically. It was like 9:30. No, it was early. It was 9:33, right? And then that 9:36 candle is what gets us back in there, and then that 9:39 candle is what gives it that third entry. Yeah, so in a sense, you could have taken a continuation confluence. So, excuse me. So as soon as we got back into here and we rejected off of it, I guess you could have taken your entry like maybe at this candle, but your stop would have had to been like really high. I definitely think the best entry would have been at the change in state, but that would have required a retracement, and you're not always granted a retracement. So I just took it at this candle closure here, which validates the change in state of delivery, right? So yeah, but I was just really nervous because I've taken trades like this before, and it, would take me out. But I guess you just have to trust the framework, and just, trust that, hey, this is the drawn liquidity, this is where we're going. If I'd waited any longer, it would have been lower probability, and the entry just wouldn't have been as clean. So this one was very interesting. This was a really clean trade. I need to just work on like fixing where I'm going wrong, and that's like timing my entries better, reading the market better, making sure my drawn liquidity is accurate. What else? Looking for those SMTs and C2, C3 candle closures. You know, looking for those change in states of deliveries to validate my trade entry, and yeah. And then I think another important aspect is just knowing when not to trade, because there were a lot of trades that I took that I had no business being in, because they were inside days. That's one day those are days you do not want to trade when we have inside days. And I took 2 trades on inside days, and if I can't have discipline in backtesting, then I have no business live trading, because I'm going to do the same thing when I'm live trading, right? So I need to have the discipline to not take trades on days where it's very lower probability, because if I'm willing to take them in backtesting, I'm probably going to be willing to take them in the live market, and we don't want that. So there's just a lot of things that I need to work on, a lot of things I need to fix and like hone in on. And that's kind of what I'm doing right now. So my stats are probably going to be really garbage. But the weird thing is that this is how I trade, even on all the other videos that you've seen me with very good R&R and things like that. This is kind of the same way I'm trading. I'm just really trying to clean up maybe some bad habits and trading in a way that is more efficient, if that makes sense. Yeah, but I don't know. With that being said, that's all I have right now. But yeah, I'm just on an improvement journey right now. I basically don't need to learn anything else. I know everything I need to know. It's just using the concepts, using the tools better, and becoming a more efficient trader. So with that being said, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. If you have any comments, leave them in the comments section. Or if you have any questions, leave them in the comments, I should say. But yeah. I'll see you guys in the next one. Hope you have a wonderful day.